What's up, everybody? Rob here. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, precious metals versus the stock market versus holding cash. Maybe we'll sprinkle a little bit of Bitcoin in the mix as well. It's a bit of a wide array of topics here, but I feel like they all fall under the same category where it is our options on where to store our wealth is very limited. And with all the uncertainties going on right now, I feel like this is going to be a great topic to discuss. If you agree with some of these points here, please feel free. And I got this. Oh, I feel real fancy now. I feel like a real YouTuber now. Smash that like button. Would really appreciate it. Does help this video reach more people. If the content is worthwhile, hit the like button. If it's not worthwhile, hit the down button. And say a reason down below why you disagree. Or if you do agree and I missed out on a couple points, please put a comment down below. I see all the comments and I do try my best to reply to all of them. So would really appreciate your insight on this situation as well. So a lot of people have been asking me to comment on the current stock market because it is continuing to go up. The best way that I can approach this topic is to just say what I'm doing with my own capital and how I'm trying to navigate this situation on where to store capital and where to preserve wealth. I think of equities right now as a game of like hot potato. It's a game of hot potato. If you are a great hot potato player, you can get in a Tesla trade and get out at a certain time before, some type of correction could happen. If you are a master at hot potato, right now could be your major opportunity. And the reason I use the term hot potato is because the Dow right now is about 30,000. It's at all-time highs, the Dow. After a pandemic, after everything going on, the Dow is at all-time highs, which is pretty interesting. But let's really take it apart here. We've printed nearly $10 trillion throughout this pandemic. That money then gets put into the commercial banks. Where do you go deposit that $1,200 check? Where do you go deposit this money? You put it in the bank. The bank then gives out loans. The interest rates are at zero. They can give out unlimited loans through fractional reserve banking. So there is a huge influx of cash. People are talking about, oh, the Fed printed all this money. No, the commercial banks printed all of this money. The interest rates are at zero. They can print it however much they want. They can give out unlimited loans. That's where money is created. It's through the commercial banks. Why do you think they got bailed out in 2007, Bank of America? The reason I bring up the game of hot potato is because there's so much cash. It's like you started with a shot of vodka and you said, hey, I want more vodka. And somebody gave a gallon of water and just poured it into the vodka and you have a gallon there. And you're like, wow, look at all this vodka. It's like, no, you got water tasting, water that tastes a little bit like vodka. That's what you have there. That's what we're doing with our currency in a sense. Everybody's talking about, oh, the inflation rate hasn't really gone up. The Fed actually brought it up that it is going up, but they're not really bringing into account that the actual medium that we're using to buy stocks, that we're using as our currency, is devaluing by the day. Anybody else notice that the dollar index is below 91? It's just holding on to 90 by the skin of its teeth, which basically means that all of the currency of the world don't value our dollar the same. It basically just means like, hey, it used to take, this amount of dollars to buy our stuff, but now it's a little diluted. We need a little bit more. We'll take them, but we don't really want them as much as we used to want them. And if that continues, if we see the dollar drop, the dollar index tank, you're basically just looking at a system where the money, the currency is diluted. And so that's why I bring up the game of hot potato. It's like, if you are sitting like for example, look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is heavy in cash right now. Warren Buffett is heavy in cash, and a person who is very anti-gold has been buying bare gold. It says a lot. Warren Buffett is not a big fan of gold, but he's buying bare gold. You look at guys like Ray Dalio who have a huge position of their hedge fund in gold. But the point is, a lot of them are sitting on fiat currency, US dollars. A lot of them are sitting on cash because they are experts at hot potato. If there is an event where the market collapses like it did at the beginning of the pandemic, and you had a bunch of cash and you dumped it in at the right time, and then you got out at the right time, then you took that profit and you put it into precious metals, or you put it into real estate, or you put it into your own business, you were an expert at hot potato. You knew how to move around that fake money, wherever the money was best fit. And so I look at fiat currency like it's hot potato, like it's a game of hot potato. This is the first time that it's really been challenged, this fiat currency structure. And a lot of people don't look at cash as the test trial that it is. Money hasn't always been like this. This started in 1971 under Richard Nixon. This is a test trial for money. We're talking about from 1971 till now, you're talking about a 50-year test trial. We're ripe for disruption. And right now you have Bitcoin. It's like you have this big overly inflated balloon of fiat currency. You have Bitcoin coming as a needle. You have precious metals coming as a needle, the gold standard coming as a needle. You have all of the people that are looking at the fiat currency and going, you guys diluted this like crazy. All the other countries are looking at how diluted our dollars are becoming here and how diluted they might continue to go. It seems like the printing press has no limits. It seems like they just keep printing and printing away. And if Janet Yellen is getting in there, you can best believe they're going to keep printing down at the Fed. That's when we get into the cash conversation. But I'm talking about equities right now, where I look at it as a game of hot potato. And I hope that I'm making a bit of sense here. I'm going to ramble a little bit, but I hope this video is worthwhile to you, because this is how I am approaching the situation myself. With equities, I am not interested in being in the stock market right now, personally. Did I miss out on this run in the pandemic? Absolutely. I hit a pretty good trade on Tesla, a couple little things here and there, but looking back on it, if you were able to get into the market right at the crash at the beginning of the pandemic, and you were able to get out about now and then put that money into your own business, or put that money into, precious metals and store your wealth, that would have been the ideal situation. It's so easy to connect the dots looking back, though. In retrospect, it's so easy to be so regretful about what you didn't do and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But with equities right now, and how much the dollar is being diluted, what I am looking at is the actual medium that we are using to purchase these equities is in jeopardy. A lot of people will look at the stock ticker, look at Tesla, look at Apple, and go, wow, look, it's over 600 right now. Apple, the medium that we are using to buy these stocks is in jeopardy. The actual denominator here. That's what I am concerned about. So is cash king? Should you be sitting on cash? Are you good at hot potato? Do you know where to put that cash? Because if your goal is just to sit on that cash, that is a very bad strategy, in my personal opinion. Now, this is just what I'm doing with my own money. Everything on this channel is not to be taken as financial advice, just financial education. Disclaimer, but sitting on cash has proven to be one of the worst investments ever, to sit on cash. It's lost 98% of its value since its coming of cash. It's like it just keeps going down in value year over year, and they're continuing to print it. So why would you sit on something that they can just readily print? That's a bad strategy, and that's what I'm a big fan of Robert Kiyosaki, and that's something that he would say. This is, if you're just sitting on cash, you got to have a strategy with that cash. So is cash king? If you're great at hot potato. If you're great at hot potato and you have a strategy, I'm going to use this cash flow for my business. I'm going to use this cash to, if the stock market collapses, I know this, and that stock that is really undervalued, and I'm going to be able to jump in there, and I think it's going to recover. Or I think, the commercial real estate sector is taking a hit right now. I have an idea for a business, and I'm going to put this cash reserve into this real estate opportunity for me. So that kind of jumps from equity over to cash. Is cash king? If you have a plan with it. You have to have a strategy with your plan. I don't know what your strategy is, but your options on where to put that cash is very limited. Are you going to put it in equities? Are you going to put it in your own business? Are you going to put it into Bitcoin? Are you going to store it into precious metals and hedge against hyperinflation? Or are you just going to sit on that cash? There's not too many places to put it. With equities, it's extremely tough to say right now what's going to happen in the equities market, because if money continues to be printed, well, it could continue to go up. It could continue to go up if money keeps getting printed. But the medium that is being used to buy these equities is in jeopardy. Everything else is going to cost more dollars to buy because it is so diluted. So could the stock market go up? Sure. Would the dollar index go down? Absolutely. You would see an event where people wouldn't want to accept the same amount of dollars that they used to for the same items, because it's been this whole fiat currency system is so overinflated and so diluted. It's crazy. So to get back to the equities game, I'm out of the stock market completely. I am heavy into precious metals, and I have a pretty large position in Bitcoin now. That's where I am myself. So when I'm looking at equities, am I envious? Sure. I missed out on quite a few opportunities here. Do I think it's way overextended? And do I not believe the medium that it's trading on? Absolutely. And I think the medium that it's trading on is ripe for disruption as well. When I'm talking about fiat currency, I'm talking about the dollar. We could rapidly move to a digital dollar. There are all different types of things that can happen to the dollar right now that makes me not really trust the equities market, because they're trading on this medium. They're not trading on gold like they used to be prior to 1971. Prior to 1971, you were buying a stock, you were buying it in gold, because the money that we were using to buy the stock was backed by that metal. It's a much different situation. Now, getting from equities over to precious metals, I think right now precious metals are the best place to store wealth, period. And I used to be saying only, this is me talking about my personal holdings here. I also own Mineral Exchange. So if you want to go to mineralexchange.com, I'm happy to help you out. If you want to go somewhere else, feel free to go somewhere else. But with precious metals right now, and I hate to be I don't mean to come across as a salesman, but it's my company is Mineral Exchange. But the thing is, I put my money where my mouth is. I think platinum is extremely undervalued. I think silver is extremely undervalued. And I think if we do see a solvency event, the central banks of the world is definitely going to go to gold first. They're not going to go to Bitcoin first. They're not going to go to silver first. They're going to go to gold first. I think that move will then affect how ridiculously undervalued platinum and silver is. So that's my play in precious metals. I'm silver first. Gold is second-ish, but platinum I'm increasing my holdings. And if you follow me on Instagram, if you go to Rob Sultan on Instagram, you'll see some of the platinum pictures and some other things that I do on Instagram. And I also made I've made a couple videos on platinum. If you want to go check those out, just go to the channel. In regards to precious metals, if the dollar is being diluted and it's losing its buying power, well, it's going to take more dollars to buy the precious metal. The precious metal is finite. You still have to mine it. You still have to refine it and make a bar out of it. You still have to work and have labor in these precious metals. So as everything else becomes diluted, the finite items will continue to go up in price because these things are diluted over here. The equities are diluted because they're trading on diluted dollars. That's the medium that we're using to buy these equities. Is cash king if you have a strategy with it? If you have a strategy with it, what are you going to do with that cash? Have you thought about building a business? Have you thought about what investment you're going to make? Those are the types of things you should be thinking about when you have cash, because you got to build your own printing presses in this day and age. If this money is being printed and printed and printed, the goal should be to create your own printing press, which would be make your own business. If you have your own business and you get paid from your business, you've created a printing press. And that goes back to the real estate argument. The people who have real estate, they tie their cash up in that asset. That asset then becomes a printing press from cash flow. So with that cash, you have to have some sort of idea that what you're going to do with it. But if you're just sitting on cash with no plan, no strategy at all, I would suggest using this time to come up with a strategy. Where does Bitcoin come into this conversation? Bitcoin is just, if you haven't watched my videos on Bitcoin, I've made quite a few videos on Bitcoin. I still look at Bitcoin as a major speculative play. If Bitcoin had a 1% likelihood of being adopted, now that likelihood might be 10, 15%. And as more large companies adopt Bitcoin and more hedge funds start buying Bitcoin, I've seen some people talking about, what is it, Raoul Paul, very respectable trader, going all in on Bitcoin. Quite a few people are very, very bullish on Bitcoin, and this snowball is beginning to form on it. So I still look at it as a major speculation play. But what's cash? Like, what's this? What is, if somebody is so anti-Bitcoin, what we all can agree upon is the current structure that we have on fiat currency is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no better way to state it. It's the system is ripe for disruption. So is Bitcoin crazy? Is it this internet money, this crazy internet money? Sure. Absolutely. But the system that we have in play, it could be like grandpa's in the future. There's a funny meme I posted on this, but it's like, back in my day, our money was paper and it was backed by debt. You Bitcoin kids are so crazy. It's like, the current system is absolutely ridiculous. We can both agree on that. The Peter Schiff, the diehard Peter Schiff guys, Peter Schiff himself, they are so anti-Bitcoin, but at least we can find the middle ground to say the current system is absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. So whether you believe we're going to go to a gold standard or whether you think Bitcoin is going to continue to be adopted, personally, I like those two places. That's where I park my money. And with the cash position, I think it is still a great idea to have maybe 20% cash and have a lot of powder dry ready to fire the cannon when the time comes. But you have to have a strategy with what you're going to be doing with that cash. That's how I look at the situation. And with Bitcoin and precious metals, these are finite items. Bitcoin ultimately finite, ending at 21 million coins and rapidly approaching that figure. It's getting very close to being finished, Bitcoin. So if you have one Bitcoin, you're one of 21 million, period. It is the ultimate finite item. It's the other thing about precious metals right now is with COVID and with everything going on, mining operations are struggling. So I would imagine the cost to mine these industrial metals is going to continue to go up. And there is no choice for precious metals to not cost more money. If the dollars are diluted and it's costing more and more money to mine this, and mining operations are constrained right now, storing physical precious metals, actually having the real metals that you can store and hold in your hand, I find that to be one of the best places to have your money during all of this uncertainty. So I hope I didn't just kind of beat around the bush. I hope there was actually a bit of good information in there that can help you navigate the environment. But overall, just to kind of summarize, I am sketched out by the equities market. I'm sketched out by it right now. I don't want to be in mining stocks. I don't want to be in I don't want to be in Apple. I don't want to be in any equities right now because I don't know the uncertainties that can happen right now. Could there be a solvency event with the dollar? Absolutely. It's very possible. But the one thing I wanted to touch on before I end this video here is in 2007, you saw a huge retail crowd jumping into the market. It was like, it can only go up, the stock market. It's the time to get in. Whenever you see a large retail crowd going in, there usually is a dump that follows after. And it's a very predictable cycle. So when you study that chart and you look at what's going on right now with all the Robinhood traders, all of the people that are dancing in the street over how much money they made on Tesla and Apple and all of these companies, I made a good chunk on that too, but I missed out on that huge run. But we got a lot of people out there that are just in a frenzy mode thinking they're the next big day trader. And the thing is, that is usually when people get greedy. The whole saying on Wall Street, when you get greedy, you get slaughtered. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. And right now, there's a lot of oinks going on the street in Wall Street. There's a lot of them. They're just oinking all over Wall Street right now. That's how I feel. I feel like it'd be, if you're not willing to take profits here and you're going to risk yourself in equities and everything that's going on, it just seems like wait, there is no effect from having the whole country shut down for 8 months. There's no effect here. It just continues to go up. To me, that just seems like the most logical thing. It's sometimes it's like you have to see past the smoke and mirrors to actually have real logic. And the smoke and mirrors right now is everybody thinking that they are just can't lose in the stock market. You can't lose. It's only going to go up. That argument was very real at the beginning of COVID. And looking back on it, I wish I had looked at it that way, where you knew that this money was going to get printed to have this huge stimulus bill, the stimulus package. You knew the money was going to get printed. You knew it was going to go down to the commercial banks. You knew that that was going to give out as a loan, and the loans were already down at 0% interest. So it was, you knew that that money had to get put somewhere, and that money, the easiest place to park that money that was just completely poofed out of thin air by Poof Powell and then sprinkled down to the central banks and the commercial banks. And how ironic that these people that are diluting the dollars, these commercial banks, are the ones that the taxpayer bailed out in 2007. When you really take that apart, it's like the people that are giving out loans that they don't have to hold any of the money in the reserves anymore. They used to have to hold 10% under fractional reserve banking. It makes you kind of angry when you really understand the way the system works. It's like, but the fact that we, the taxpayers, bailed out Bank of America in 2007, we should have let them fail. We should have let General Motors fail. But we pay their bills while General Motors is a terrible situation, but specifically bailing out a bank because they diluted our currency. They're the reason why everything will cost more money in the future, because it is them, the commercial banks, who continue to dilute the money. But we are here to bail you out when you fail. That's what's the system that we have. Mind-boggling. And when I think about all the bankruptcies that are going to happen because of this situation, I can only imagine being in a bank. I mean, look what happened to Wells Fargo stock. That got hit pretty hard. You know, is that going to continue to be a trend here? Very possibly. So the overall summary of what I want to talk about was the medium that we are using to buy our equities. The medium that we are using is seriously in jeopardy. And everybody can talk about, oh, the inflation rate is only at this rate. It's like the dollar is dropping in value. Look at the dollar index. Really study the dollar index. That's what you need to be looking at. And the fact that it's just barely holding over 90 by the skin of its teeth, it's very worrisome to me. So of the 4 places that I was talking about, when I talk about stocks, when I talk about holding cash, when I talk about losing my train of thought. I've been talking a lot. When I'm talking about stocks, when I'm talking about if you want to be in equities, if you want to be in precious metals, or if you want to be in cash, or if you want to have Bitcoin, I think of all the 4 places to be is precious metals, a little bit of Bitcoin, and a nice little holding of fiat currency to play hot potato with. But do I want to be in equities? Do I want to risk that right now with everything going on, knowing that what happens to stock markets when we see large amounts of retail investors going in? It's like the tulip bulb story. You know, it's like this type of situation is very predictable when you have all of these newfound equities traders coming in from the retail spectrum. It usually gets dropped on their head. I want to be in precious metals. I want to have a little bit of Bitcoin, and I want to have a little bit of a reserve of cash. If we see a collapse, if we see real estate get collapsed, if we see the equities get collapsed, and there's huge opportunities to buy these items. Do I see the other thing I'm looking at too? And sorry if I'm continuing to ramble. With precious metals, in 2007, when the market collapsed, precious metals went down with it. What I'm looking for right now is if precious metals detaches here. If we see a detachment from equities and precious metals, if you see some days where you say the stock market drops 500 points or 1,000 points on the Dow, but metals go up, if you watch this video all the way through, that's the sign that I'm personally looking for. That's my bull sign that I'm looking for. If we see a detachment between those two things. If Bitcoin doesn't correlate with the stock market anymore, if precious metals doesn't correlate with the stock market and they detach from each other, now that would be extremely bullish. And we're right on the edge of that. Bitcoin is right there at all-time highs. Gold is right there almost at all-time highs. It's getting back up to where it was over 2000. It's right now, it's at, what is that, 1900? I believe it's at 18 something. 1848 right now on the ask. And silver right now, 2440. And this was my argument back when silver was 18. If you want to go back to my old videos, there was somebody out there that was talking about how silver was going to crash. And I'm like, maybe, but maybe it goes to 30 and it crashes back down to 25. So buying at 18 made a lot more sense, you know, and turns out that's exactly what happened. You know, we could easily see a detachment, and the pullback from the stock market could be non-existent and actually finally do what it's supposed to do. When the stock market corrects, metals are supposed to go up. Like, that's what's supposed to happen in theory. Could that finally happen this time around? The dollar's never been more diluted than today. There is way, way, way more printed currency of fiat currency than there was back in 2007. Based on how diluted it is, the bull case for precious metals has never been stronger. So the last thing I wanted to say, I know I said that like 3 times now, but the last thing I want to say is look for that detachment. If there's a time when the stock market crashes or goes down, has a temporary flash crash, and metals goes up and Bitcoin goes up, that's, for me personally, just me personally saying, not saying for other people to do this, me personally, that's my all-in moment. That's my, like, okay, all-in moment, which, I mean, I already have my money where my mouth is. So with all of that being said, I know I rambled a bit on this one. This is probably, almost 30-minute video. If you watch this video all the way through, really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. If you want to click that subscribe button, totally up to you. If you click the bell afterward, if you click the subscribe button in the corner of this video somewhere and then the bell afterwards, you'll be notified of all future videos on this channel. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, Rob Sultan on Instagram. I'm very active there, and it's much easier to reach me there in the DMs and whatnot. It's actually me responding, doing a couple of cool things on the Instagram, so if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to seeing you at the next video. Signing out.